Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. So if this is your first episode to listen to, welcome. We are in season 5, which means we are over 100 episodes in talking about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. So that should just kind of paint a picture for you right in the beginning. And I probably still have 34,900 more people to interview, because the joke is that the Dave Matthews Band has 35,000 fans and they all, travel around to see this band. So if that's true, I really need your help to reach 34,900 more people. I don't know if I'm going to live that long, but I am on a voyage to interview the fans behind this band because it's created a universe of positivity that I think is worth sharing. I think we live in a world right now, we always have, where we turn on the TV and the first thing we hear is bad news. And so I hope to be just a space where the space between, where you can always hear something positive, where we can talk about there is still good things going on in this world. There is love, and a lot of this can come from something as simple as, and you're going to, music. Did you know that music can change lives? And it is changing lives. So that is what this podcast is about. Welcome to season 5. I hope that you enjoyed my new intro video. I spent the last year recording all of the footage that you saw. And if you didn't see it because you're listening to this on a podcast, just know that you can go right over to YouTube and you can watch all of these. A lot of these that I have recorded are available on YouTube, and it's fun to watch. People send in their pictures of when they met Dave, or when their first concert was, or their baby, or so many different stories. And so be sure to check out the Space Between Podcast on YouTube, subscribe, like, do all those things your 14-year-old does when she's on YouTube. Do all of that. Ask your 14-year-old, hey, how can I follow the show? They will help you. So today is like every episode. I have a guest that loves the Dave Matthews Band. And before I let her introduce herself, because she's just probably sitting here going, hey, it's been 3 minutes and you haven't let me talk, I'm going to let her talk. But first, I'm going to tell another story, because I got a chance to see the band at their first U.S. stop in 2024, which was in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was on March 1st is when I went. And so the day, I believe it was the day of the concert, and you can correct me if this is wrong, but the DMB Fit Crew, which if you're not for sure what that is, that's a group on Facebook that focuses on positive living, health styles, a lot of different health and wellness goals, but surrounded, of course, by the music of the Dave Matthews Band. They had a walk/run down the Vegas Strip. And so with my husband being an avid runner, he was like, I definitely want to do this while we're in town. Now with me being an avid non-runner, going, hey, no, if you see me run, you should run, because there is something chasing me. I, for whatever reason, said, you know what, this will be a great way to see the city. So I went with him and I met our guest today. And so thank you so much for being on this show today. Tell us who you are, where in the world are you, and tell me, what is your very first memory of ever hearing of the Dave Matthews Band?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Renae. I'm super excited to be here. My name's Marci Nicholson, and I live about 20 miles or so east of Seattle. So I'm in the state of Washington, a sweet little town called Snoqualmie, and it's in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. It's a really beautiful area. And for any of you who go to the Gorge and you fly into SeaTac Airport, and then you drive east on I-90. You drive right past my exit to come to my house. It's 2 minutes from me when you pass my exit. Um, yeah, that's kind of me. But my very first recollection of Dave and listening to Dave, it goes back a long time ago. And I was actually trying to think of like what was like that moment that I very first heard him, and I can't remember that exact moment, but I feel like it was kind of a shift in the kind of the music that I was listening to at the time. Being from Seattle in the early '90s, Seattle was kind of thick in the grunge scene, which I loved. I love live music. I love music altogether, and so that was like the era of Nirvana.
Yes.
And all of that. And Seattle has like so many amazing small venues for music. The Crocodile Cafe, Rock Candy, which is now gone, but and actually a lot of them are gone, and there's new ones now. But unfortunately, I think my first recollection of Dave, I was trying to kind of think about when did I really first start listening, and I can't remember like that exact moment, but that time period. Was being in Seattle, it was really thick into the whole grunge scene, and Seattle has amazing live music, and I listened, I just love live music. I go to a lot of live music, still go to a lot of live music, but that was in the time period where Kurt Cobain commits suicide, and I don't think that that had like a bearing. Like it wasn't like, oh, that happened, and so I'm not going to listen to that music anymore. But it was maybe just like a shift point in my life or something like that. But I still really love that music, and that music obviously evolved into some other bands that I still love to this day. Really great. But if I think back to when my first like real recollection, which is weird because it involves a CD, and I remember sitting in my car and putting the CD into the feeder thing in my that was Crash.
Yeah.
It was the Crash CD.
Oh, yeah.
And I just listened to, that was probably one of my very favorite CDs for a long time after that. And even, when I think about, like when my daughter, who's now 24, was a baby, the summer, so her birthday's in September, and the summer before she was born, I listened to that CD in the car on repeat just the whole entire summer. And we tease that she's listened to Dave since before she was born. And
Yes.
if she was in the car and she was fussy, I could just put that in, and a little Crash would just settle her right down. And to this day, she says
No
that she
way.
doesn't cry. Yes, it was very bizarre. She could just be like crying her eyes out in the back seat, and I would put that in, and she would just completely calm. And so, and I was like, I think it's because you've listened to it literally since before you were born.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just been, part of her
Oh my
world.
gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about the progression. So you find them, you're in Seattle, you are just in the hub of so much great music. But like what are your thoughts when you hear the Dave Matthews Band? Like why did it obviously there's a great reason why it was kind of different than what you were listening to, because they are not grunge music, and they did come out in a decade when grunge, and especially in Seattle, was so strong. So what was it about them? Was it just that they did have a different sound, or was there something specific about them that kind of appealed to you?
I think that I'm a real big lyrics fan, and so I think that it was a combination of just like the sound of the music, and then the lyrics just totally like speak to my soul.
Yeah.
All of the songs, I just like every one of them. I love them. In fact, sometimes when I'm at a concert, I'll be like, "Oh, this is my favorite song. Oh no, this is my favorite song. I love it."
I think you're not the only one, that's for sure.
Right? They're so good. There's only one song that I would be okay not hearing ever again, and I won't even say what it is because it's very controversial.
You have to. You can't say that and then not. I mean, this is opinions. We all have opinions, and we probably all have that one song that we're just like, oh, okay, tell us what it is.
I feel
I
so
know.
good. So
This doesn't mean that you think it's a bad song. It just means you're okay with not hearing it again.
Well, I feel like I'm a little justified in this because one year at the Gorge, this is probably 10 years ago or something, maybe longer ago, he played it, or I think right before he played it, or maybe right after, he said that his wife also doesn't like that song and wants to know, why do you always play
Oh.
that song? I don't even like that song. And it's Captain. I
Oh my
know.
goodness. I just talked about that on an episode not too long ago where I was like, "Oh my God, it's just so good." But that's okay. I love the different opinions. So I wonder why his wife doesn't like it. Why do you, I mean, is it just like everything or is there, I mean, it is different, but like now I feel like you got to back that up.
I don't actually even know, but I've never liked it. Like the first time I heard it, I was like, I'm going to the bathroom because I just like, I
Yeah.
was like, well, I don't know
Yeah.
what this is, and I don't know if it feels a little floaty to me.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I just and
No,
it's
that's
more.
cool.
I so at when we were at Madison Square Garden, I told one of the people that I met there at one of the meetups. We were talking about
Uh-huh.
that song, and I was like, "Oh, I just don't like that song." And so, of course, I was like shunned from the group for a few minutes for saying such like a horrible thing, and just for a couple minutes. But I listened to it again when I got home. I just happened it came on Sirius or something, and I was listening to it. And I really think it's the chorus I don't like. It's not the whole song. I just don't love the chorus. So
Sure. Sure.
I don't
You
know.
know what I
But
like
that's the
about
one
that song
I really don't like.
that you just can't do without? The what I like most about that song is not the lyrics and it's not even Dave's voice. It is the music in it. Like it's so good. Like I feel like for me when I listen to it the bass really stands out and maybe it doesn't to anyone else because you do kind of got to listen to it, but I feel like Stefan just kind of tore up that song. And so that's why I like it so much is because it highlights him at least in my head. I know it's not like Crush where it highlights him so much, but it's just I don't know, it's got a different feeling to it. If I had to name a song that I'm just like, it comes right to me because this is a debate between me and my husband because he loves this song. He would probably list this as his number one song. And this is probably the song I'd be like, I can do without.
Yeah.
Let's
What is
see.
it?
Oh my God, now I just forgot. Samurai Cop. I don't love it.
Oh yeah. A lot of people don't like that song. Isn't that so funny?
I think it's just
Samurai Cop.
so like let's not, I mean
Yeah.
it's just so like drawn out and I understand it's like beautiful, like what it's about is beautiful and I whatever, I get all that, but like for me I could go the rest of my life and not hear it and I'd be just fine. I'd be like, oh well, okay, I didn't even miss it.
Not missing that. Yeah.
At least for Captain, like that's not one that's gonna pop up very often.
No.
So you don't have to worry so much about, oh shit, I'm
Right.
going to wait for Captain so I can go to the bathroom. You will never go to the bathroom if you wait for
Never got
Captain.
that. Never got the day about it.
So that's a good song. That's a good song I mean, I'm not agreeing with you. I'm just saying that's a smart one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about like when in the world did you finally get from, oh yeah, I like their music to, hey, I think I might want to go see these dudes perform.
Yeah. So I think from like 94-ish when I started, I'm getting an unstable connection message. Can you hear me okay still?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can now.
Is it okay? So I think from 94.
Yep, we're good.
I don't know if, so I don't think I realized this until very recently. So the first year that I saw Dave at the Gorge was, I want to say 96, which might have been the first year he played
Oh, wow.
there. And I don't,
Wow.
so fast forward from that time up until like 2 years ago, I didn't even realize, like, the Gorge is our home venue, and so that's just where we go
Yeah.
every year. And I guess maybe, like, since COVID, I guess, I've started meeting more and more people that were, like, pilgrimaging to the Gorge to go there. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, and, like, I don't know, I guess, like, when something is just, like, your home place, like, you don't even think about
Oh, yeah.
like
Sure.
that that's like a big deal place to go to. It's just where we go. It's just the local
Right.
local
Right.
is nice. It was the
You've been
most
around it
wonderful.
for a while, so it was no big deal to you. I mean, you know what I
Right.
mean.
So that's just where we go. And so we would, in the beginning, we would go. So I believe it was 96. And I mean, tickets were like dirt cheap. The Gorge was nothing like it is now. It was so rustic then. Like the lawn was like, I don't even think they watered the lawn. It was just, I don't know. And I want to say that there wasn't even like maybe a differentiation in tickets between the lawn and maybe there wasn't like reserved, it wasn't paved, it was,
Oh,
I don't even
wow.
know. And at one point, there was a handful of years where they had something called the Golden Circle. And so those were like
Uh-huh.
reserved seats. I think where the pit was, there was no pit. It's really
Oh,
evolved a lot. And I've seen it kind of evolve and kind of go back and forth in different ways. So, yeah, so it's been really interesting. There's like, it's 3 days. It's the Labor Day weekend, and so there were some years where we would go just one night for whatever reason. Sometimes we go 2 nights, 3 nights. We live about 2.5 hours
yeah.
from there, and we're not campers. Oh, camping used to also be so sketchy that was not our jam at all. It was like, yeah, it was really like now they have like Gold and Premier and like all the like much more fancy camping situation. It was not like that. And
Right.
so we would drive all the way home every night and then drive back the next day, go to the
Oof.
show. And
Yeah.
I say we, my
That's a
poor
lot.
husband, I know, my husband drove and I slept the whole way. But we would do that. And yeah, we just have done it every year. I think we didn't go the year that I was pregnant with both of my kids. We didn't go either of those years. Obviously, didn't go during COVID. And then one year I didn't go because one of my best friend's daughter was getting married. And so I think in all that time I haven't gone 4 times. But other than that, I've gone every
Wow.
year since
Wow.
I think 96. Hmm.
Wow. So you really, if you started seeing them in 96, I mean, you have seen the evolution of this band.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. I mean, a lot of people have their preferences when it comes to which decade of Dave is the best. And I always say now is the best time, but like what do you think since you got to see them in the 90s, you've seen them in the 2000s, 2010s, now 2020s. What are your thoughts on the evolution and do you have a favorite decade?
Yeah, I am going to agree with you that the Now Dave is probably the best. I think back I have Sirius radio in my car, and so you get like all the eras in the when you're listening to it, and sometimes I'll
Oh
be
yeah.
listening to a song, and I'll look to see like what the date is on it, and it's like 2003 or something like that. And like the essence of the song is the same. I feel like Dave's voice has matured a lot in a really amazing way. But the sweetness of the
Yeah.
songs is still the same. I I think I saw I actually think also at the concerts, Dave has I wouldn't say I would ever describe him as not being a confident performer, but I feel like he has like grown into his own space and he's just so himself now. And I can't say that he wasn't himself when he was
True.
younger. Um,
Yeah.
it was just I don't know. He just is like him. I don't know. It just seems really amazing to watch him. And that's one of my favorite things about seeing shows with him is watching him. I love being able to like just his
He is
facial
fun to
expressions
watch.
and just how much he puts into the songs. It's so sweet.
Yeah, and I saw a video the other day on TikTok, and I don't even think a fan of the Dave Matthews Band posted this, but it was a video of Dave dancing on stage, and of course he had his guitar to the side, so he was trying to like carry it, but he was like doing this, crazy dance
Yes.
as he's known
Oh
to
yeah.
do. But the video wasn't even specifically about him. It was. Well, I guess it said something like, the Dave Matthews Band does not have one song that warrants dancing like that. And I was like, oh my God, I totally disagree. But he's known for being fun to watch because you never know what that man is
Yes.
going to do. He could be doing anything anywhere on stage, and it's always such a hoot because I don't think he cares. Rightly so. What anybody thinks. He's just up there having a blast with his family, and he's not shy. I think he's probably more shy than we think. Like if you had him on a one-on-one like type thing, he would probably be a little more like, as we do, like when we're talking with strangers, as you would do, as I would do, like talking to a stranger is just kind of weird, and so you're awkward. But like he's so fun to watch, and the progression hasn't changed. Like. He's so much fun. But now we have Buddy, and Buddy can hold your attention. He is such a fun, big personality on stage. And then, of course, you've got Rashawn and Jeff on the other side who have great personalities in their own realm. Of course, Tim, he's probably the more quiet, like subdued guy. Like but his guitar skills make up for any lack of like smiling or dancing. Like he doesn't have time for that. He is busy shredding the guitar, right? And then we have Carter, who is just full smile, popping that bubble gum, doing all, making sure people are clapping for Dave as well, right? Which we are, but thank you for making sure we are. But this band has just been so much fun to watch. Even if you take away the music, take away all the things, they're so fun to watch. Their personalities are so big. And like you've said, that as they've gotten older, that's changed, as it does, but it's not become weird. I think it's become better. Like you said, they've grown into these personas of what they are and who they're rock stars. And I don't know if they know that, but it kind of reflects on stage that they're comfortable with what they're doing and who they're doing it in front of. So they're just so much fun to watch. So we're going to take just a tiny little break from your story, because one of the things that we're doing, or that I'm doing, I don't know, I always say we. I don't have a we in this, like I have this whole invisible team. It's me. It's me. So I have a new Google voicemail. So why? It's because I put out questions on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and these are called What Would You Say? And you can call the Google voicemail, which is 479-259-1630, and you can leave answers to the questions that I've posted. So at any given time, the questions are different. The last one I posted was, why should Dave Matthews Band be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I like to just hear people's answers, their thoughts, and so definitely call into the show if you have trivia, if you have a shout out to your group, anything that you think would be interesting for the show, we will actually use those and play them on a show. So that is what we are about to do. We are going to listen to some voicemails from the fans of the Dave Matthews Band, and then that'll give us some things to talk about, and we'll jump back to your story. So I will say some of these are going to be funny, some of these are going to be sad, some of these are going to be what they are, but I'm ready for anything. Are you ready, Marci?
I'm ready.
Let's see what happens.
Hi, Renee. It's your bestie, or your fiance, Karen. Question of the day: what keeps me coming back for more for this incredible band? Well, first of all, it's the lifelong friendships that have happened because of this band. People I would not have met without going to these shows and seeing this incredible band. Also the memories. We have had so many great times over years that will never be forgotten, and I hold fondly in my memories the music, of course, and it's not just Dave Matthews up there by himself singing. It is the whole band. I never know who to watch because they're all so spectacular, and they all move me in different ways for whatever song they're playing. It might be Carter that I'm staring at, or it could be Jeff, could be Rashawn. It is just phenomenal. It's magic. And then the last thing is really the feeling of being heard and seen. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but the lyrics that they write makes me feel like they're looking just right into my soul, and they see me and they hear me and they know what I need to get out of any funky mood, or what I need to laugh, what I need to smile. They have a song for everything. And last but not least, Dave is one sexy motherfucker. Well, I hope that helps. I love you, sis. Have a good night.
Yes. I think she did such a great, like, overall, like, here's what I like, this, and also
Yes.
Dave, right? I mean, I met someone yesterday who heard about my show, and she said, Dave Matthews, he's still super hot. And I was like, I mean, I'm standing there with my husband, so I'm like, that is what I hear. A lot of women love Dave, but I want to say that, you know, I'm sure that all the guys on stage get their own, you know, little fan base. Like, I know there's some people that love Stefan, and I was not even aware of, like, all those sub clubs, right? Like, I'm Team Stefan, you know, like, woo, he's such a hot dad. And I joke because they're all just these dads up there that are like,
Right?
rock
are.
stars.
Which I think is so funny that they are. Yes.
They are, and I think they embrace that too, you know, like they're family men. They, you know, or at least they're putting that out into the world that they are. And so they're so fun to watch. And I think that kind of backs up everything you said too, is just they're so fun to watch on stage. So let's do one more and then we'll jump back into your story. Let's see. We're going to pick a good one. It's just like, I'm spinning the wheel to see which one we play. Okay. This is from Victoria.
Hey, Renee. My name is Victoria. I am 31, almost 32. Upstate New York is my home. SPAC is my home venue. I've been going since I was in high school. What keeps me coming back for days is definitely just the vibe and the atmosphere, and just that sense of, like, total community when you're at a show, and just that, like, it's a safe space to be yourself, to be happy, to be free, and obviously we love the music. Cheers.
Awesome. I mean, I think when this many people say what we're saying, it's true. I believe that. And so this band has left such a mark on so many people's, has imprinted on so many people's heart. And so let's kind of jump back into your story. And so, you know, the Gorge is your home, and yeah, you're really lucky to live that close to such a mecca when it comes to this band, because, you know, when you jump into this world of the fan base around the Dave Matthews Band, people often talk about, well, have you seen the band here? Have you seen the band here? Yeah. And the reason why they ask those questions is because, you know, the band is known to have their favorite venues, but also the band sounds different, plays different, does different things at different venues. So there's the constant want to chase them, because every single show that they play is completely different than any other show that they've ever been played, which is an incredible thing to do, especially when you're a band that's been putting out music and doing live music for over 30 years. The way you can continuously change things up and keep it fresh for those same 35,000 fans, you know, is such an amazing story. So, you know, when it comes to traveling, have you had the opportunity? Obviously you have, because I met you in Vegas, but like, tell us about your travels. And then who travels with you? What does your travel crew look like?
Yeah. So for a long, long time, I really just saw him at the Gorge, and I really have no idea why I didn't go see him at other places. I just don't know. Maybe it was just like the time in my life, or
sure.
Kids, or
of
whatever.
Course, yeah.
But and so I've seen him at the Gorge. You know, obviously tons of times, but I've seen him in Seattle, I think 2 times. Once when he did the show with the Dalai Lama, which was an amazing show. Oh my gosh, he talked to the Dalai Lama at the beginning of the show, like
on stage.
Yeah, on stage. And it was like they were both sitting in chairs and they were talking. It was really, really amazing. And then he did a show, and that was the only show. I think that show was over 3 hours long, and it's the only show where I was like, I feel exhausted from dancing for that long, because I can't sit down at all during the whole show. But I think it was probably the longest show, and such an amazing show. I also got to see him at one of the sports stadiums here in Seattle, and this is so weird. I can't remember. It was with the Rolling Stones, And so I can't
Dang.
remember if the Stones opened for Dave or if Dave opened. I think it was like a double header. There's no opening for
Sure.
either one of them.
Yeah.
But that was an amazing show. And oh my gosh, I hope I don't start crying. Um, that was a really special show to me because, part of that community of people who love Dave and you do Dave with was a good friend of mine, Kelly Luna, and this makes me feel really sad. He passed away suddenly a handful of years ago, and so I still, when I think about that time, getting to see Dave, but I was there with Kelly and some of my other friends too, but that was just a really special show to think back that I shared that with Kelly, he's such an
Oh my
amazing
goodness.
man, and so it was really fun to be able to see that. But so a handful of places other than the Gorge there, but it must have been about 2021. I think it was 2021. So my daughter is adultish, and so we started, instead of doing a birthday gift, we started doing a birthday trip someplace. And
Yeah.
so we went to Franklin, Tennessee to see the pilgrimage, and Dave was headlining there on Sunday night. So we got to see him there, and that was so fun. If anyone ever has the opportunity, and he's at the pilgrimage again this year.
Yeah.
If you have the pilgrimage, I have to say, is probably the most organized, beautiful, well-run music festival I've ever been to in my whole life. It is fantastic, and Franklin, Tennessee is the cutest town ever. And then you just add a Dave show into that, and it's just like icing
Wow.
on the cake.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that
I
was my
love
daughter's
Tennessee.
first Dave show too, and I never, for a handful of reasons, she had never gone to the Gorge with us ever, and so
Yeah.
it was funny that she had to travel like a significant distance across the country to see Dave. But it was just such like one of those core memories for both of us to be able to be in a brand new place for both of us and get to see Dave as her first
Yeah.
show. It was just so good.
Did it feel
So
different to you seeing them outside of Washington?
um.
Or did it just feel like
It
home
does.
in a
It's
different
a
state?
different vibe. I think that a music festival lends itself to just a different vibe, because if you're seeing Dave at the Gorge, everyone is there to see Dave at the Gorge. Whereas at a
True.
music festival, you have like a mix of people that are there to see, that one Cage the Elephant,
Right.
or, like so many
Yeah.
different things. So, you had a different mix of people that, some like hardcore Dave fans like myself, as well as people that are like, oh, I've never even, who is this guy?
I've
And
heard of them. They're
so,
still
it
making
was,
music? What?
right. It was, so that was really fun. But I think that one of the kind of interesting time for me right now is that I love solo travel. And so maybe right after COVID, I think, I started taking a solo trip by myself at least once a year to like a place where I've never been before. So I have to figure out the travel piece of it and where to stay and, how to do all the things in this new place. My
Yeah.
first one had nothing to do with Dave. It was to Pawhuska, Oklahoma. So like a really tiny, little town. So fun. I had the very best time there. Did things that I'd kill my kids for doing. But I had a great time.
Makes for a great story when you're 80 and you can tell them, guess what your mom
Right.
did?
Well, I told them some of the things, and they were like, I don't think I even know you. Why would you do those things? They're so dangerous. But it really wasn't dangerous. But for them, to have their mom do those things. Like get into a
Sure.
car with a stranger, right? I know.
Yeah, we won't tell those stories, right?
Well, I wasn't hitchhiking. It was, I don't know, it was a bigger story than
It's
hitchhiking.
different. Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yes. So I love traveling by myself. And so when Dave was at Madison Square Garden just this past fall, I actually have had, I think this was part of it, I have been a school psychologist for about 23-ish years, and I had kind of a weird hiccup this year, and I ended up on a leave of absence from my work. And so I had a lot of time on my hands, but it was really, the reason that I was on the leave was really kind of a super sad, kind of heartbreaking, weird reason. And that resulted in a lot of anxiety, and I just had to take a break and just put a pause on my life. But I'm usually like Mrs. Brightside, just always positive
Yeah.
and, joyful and, all of that. And I like lost that. And I just was chasing happiness. I could not find it. I was doing anything and everything I could to try to reignite this like fire of happiness in me, and I just could not do it. So I bought a ticket to go see Dave in New York, which I love New York, and I went by myself, and that was such an amazing experience to do by myself. I went to the meetups at the meetup that was the night of the show. I went to that, and you walk into this bar, and you have like all like you're like, oh, I'm walking in with a bunch of strangers, but they are strangers, but they're kind of not, because you're all there for the same reason and for the same, like you have this string that binds or that kind of ties you all together. And I walked in, and I can remember walking in, and there was this table of some men and women that were standing there, and I remember I just started chatting with them, and it felt like I knew them, which of course you don't, but it just, I don't know how to explain it. I was even trying to explain it to my husband, and he's like, I don't know, I don't understand that. But like this guy Brian that I met, he's from Buffalo, New York, and we're talking, and he has little kids, but then it's more we're talking. I love to hear people's stories too. I love stories. Oh my gosh, I could just listen to people's stories for just hours. So we discovered that we both have kids that are actually graduating from high school this year, and so we were talking about they're graduating from high school and college, and watching them trying to figure things out. So you kind of have that common piece there. We met up afterwards, and still another group, and so super fun. And then I I was staying in Times Square, and so I was like, it was like midnight or something. I was like, oh, I better walk back before it gets too, I don't know. And so as I'm walking back to my hotel, there's this man in front of me walking, and I had a poster tube, and he had a poster tube. So I was like, chances are good he was probably at the Dave show. And so I caught up with him, and I was like, we were chatting, and he was like, and he had been at the Dave show, and he was like, hey, I'm going to this bar over here. Do you want to go too? And I was like, sure. And so total stranger in the dark in New York, and I just was like, okay. But I'm also always up for adventure too, like calculated adventure, wouldn't be spooky, like get in the van or something like that. But I was like, it'll be okay. So we went, and we ended up in this like this Irish bar, like scream singing, the Killers, and it was just so fun. And as it turns out, that's Dave, and my husband refers to him as Big Dave because he's like a really tall guy. And so he lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, so just right up above us.
Oh, yeah.
And so, so it was just really fun, and it was super fun to hear his story about kind of like his life, and it was just super fun. And then in Vegas, I went and saw Dave in Vegas just recently, and Big Dave was there. And so at one of the meetups, I think it was like Night Zero meetup or something, my husband was with us, and so Dave from Vancouver comes up to me, and he's like, where's your husband? And so I pointed at him, and he was like, oh, I'm going to go freak him out. And he went and like gave him this giant hug, and my husband was like, what the heck is this happening? But it's just so fun, and it feels like, like I just feel like there's a safety in the people that you meet in this circle, and even like having their backs in some way. There's another guy that I met in New York, his name is Kevin, and after the show, we're friends on Facebook, and so you get to kind of watch these people's lives evolve. And he got married, and I just feel like I'm cheering on this man that's getting married, and his sweet wife that I've never met, but I just love her via the internet, and she's just so sweet, and just all of the things that evolve with him. And I talked to him, chatted with him last week, and I said something about how excited I was that he got married, and he was like, that just is so amazing that just the community that Dave brings to, he's kind of the catalyst for this community, And he said it's amazing to think that someone who lives so far away is interested in his life, which I do think that I am interested in people's lives. A couple of the gals that I met in Vegas, one just went and saw Dave in Germany with her son, which I just was so excited for both of them. So cool. And one of the other gals, she was just in Brazil with her mom and some other family members. And so I just love watching everyone's lives and cheering them on. And, I just think it's amazing.
I am in all of that with you. I think it is, for me, and I have always been, I think just based on how old we are, we were raised with televisions, right? Because we didn't have the internet, until we were much older. So, I've always been a TV watcher, I guess. But recently, I would say from like COVID to now, maybe a little bit before COVID, I am genuinely more interested in looking at online things and following people's journeys and their weddings and having babies and what concerts they are at now in Europe, because they are real people doing real things and it's not fake. Yes, is there fake stuff on social media? Of course there is.
Sure.
But they are way more interesting to watch and get involved with than these fake things on TV. And so I agree. It is so much fun to hear people's stories, why they are the way they are. And it teaches us so much, not only about like, oh, I didn't even realize that about myself, or the way I would react to something, or, I've changed my mind about something because of someone else's perspective was shined towards me, and now is able to see it in a different light. And so I think just getting involved with this community and really digging into who these people are, getting personal with some of them. Obviously you can't with all of them, but there are so many people in this community of fans that are so open to sharing these things. And so it's such a gift to not only get this amazing music, but to have also gained so many lifelong friends and family, acquaintances, things I would have never been exposed to otherwise without this music. So, and that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, was because I do enjoy hearing how it is that you are where you are. How in the world did you get to where you are now when it comes to this band? And what your story looks like is completely different than what mine looks like. However, we are in the same place musically and artistically right now, that we have something in common. So it's comfortable, right? And so I love that you are enjoying that side of the community as well. And I realize that there may be people that are listening to this podcast for the very first time, just based on the fact that you are the guest, right? So you'll have friends and family or whoever may like and love you. And so that is, again, what this podcast is about, is just documenting the story of the fans, because this is such an amazing and beautiful story if people will allow for it. Because this band has been performing and putting out music for over 30 minutes. So, of course, the fan base is a large one. I don't know what that looks like, number-wise. But, and along with time, they've continued to pick up new fans as well, right? I just met someone recently that was in their 20s and such a big fan of this band. So it's often that I try to remind myself that this is not music for 40 and 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds and the people that were around when this music started. The fan demographic behind this band is so wide and so vast. And I love that, because it's not just one kind of person. It's not just people my age. It's people that are older, people that are younger, people that are way younger. And so with that group and mix of different kinds of people is just a melting pot of different experiences and stories. And so, of course, that's what I'm chasing, is there's a million stories when it comes to this band, and they're all so wonderful. And so many lives have been changed, because of music. And I think that we don't give music enough credit to be able to change lives, to be able to save lives. And so, that's what I want to try to do, is just be a small voice in the world that is a reminder that there's some really amazing things happening in this world, all because of music and all because of a band that we love so much. So let's talk about, 2024, because, by the time this episode airs, we'll be hot and heavy into the boys being back in the United States, ready to perform for the fans in the United States, and obviously people that may travel to the U.S. to see them. I mean, I know that people do travel into our country, like you said, Canada, obviously Mexico. Those are easy to access the United States. But I know I've met people from overseas that fly in as well, because they want to check out our country, right? Just like we want to check out Italy and check out Germany. They want to check out what in the world does Florida look like. And so, of course, the boys start their U.S. tour in Tampa, Florida. So there's so many stops. This band has yet to slow down. I mean, from doing all of the things that they did in 2023, going to South Africa, doing Cancun, doing Las Vegas, going overseas, doing so many shows, basically all of April, first part of May, doing city after city after city, and then not taking a break, really. There might be 2 weeks, I think, between the last Europe show and the first United States show. So these guys are just machines. What are your thoughts on, do you have any shows lined up for 2024, or are you just gonna do your beautiful home venue of the Gorge again?
Gorge, yes. So of course I'm doing
the
Gorge.
Gorge.
Yes, I love the Gorge, so I'll definitely go there. But I have tickets to Bend, Oregon, and so I've been to Bend, Oregon. Actually, I was just there 2 weeks ago. I think it's about a 6-hour drive from my house, and so we went down there just for a couple of days. And it's interesting because Hayden Holmes is the venue, and it's a very interesting venue because it's like you're driving. Have you been to Bend?
I have seen pictures, but I have never been.
So super strange venue, not in a bad way necessarily, but you're driving and then like right there, like there's the street, the sidewalk, and then the the structure that they'll perform on is like right there. It's like right there. It's not.
I did see pictures of that. I was like, why would you buy a ticket? Just stand on the street and watch like what? Why did they build it so close?
Yes, it's so weird to
It's
me.
awesome.
And yeah, I took some pictures of it while I was there because, like, it's weird though because like the entrance to get in is far away from the venue, so you enter like way over there and walk in.
Yeah.
But where the actual it's all lawn, it's all general admission seating, but you
that's
could
awesome.
there's a fence. So it's a fence, it's open air, it's an outdoor venue, and you could just put your lawn chair like right there and just stand over there, sit on. It's super weird. So I'm excited to see Bend. It's really beautiful, and Bend is just beyond gorgeous. It's so beautiful there. So
Yeah, and
I'm
6
excited to
hours
see
is
that
is so close. I mean, relatively, close.
one. Yeah, it is. So Bend is relatively close. Gorge is pretty close. This year so in the past we have driven home after the show. We also we have a house kind of maybe an hour from the Gorge, and so sometimes we drive home over to that house and stay there.
Sure.
At our older age. That 2.5-hour drive about kills both of us. So
It's a long ways after a concert.
Oh my gosh. And I have to say, I mean, bless my husband's heart. He just I always swear I'm going to stay awake. I will stay awake. I will stay awake the whole time. And it takes so long to get out of the parking lot at the Gorge that by the time we get out, I'm feeling a little sleepy and it's lights out. I
Oh
cannot keep my eyes open.
no.
Yeah.
So tell me, is your husband a fan, or is this just something that he supports?
A little bit of both. He's probably not as as a big. He probably supports it, and he always wants to go for the most part. Like he didn't really want to go to New York with me, but he doesn't mind going to like the more local shows. He thinks he's going to go to Bend with me. I always buy 2 tickets, and then I figure if I
Sure.
don't, like in New York, I had
You
2
can
tickets,
always
and
get rid of
I
it.
sold it to someone, and that always works really great. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he goes. I have tickets to Bourbon and Beyond to see Bourbon and Beyond
Yes.
show, and then also the Pilgrimage. So I'll two kind of close shows and then two farther away shows, and then I might buy some tickets closer to some shows and go some other places. There's like some
Yeah.
kind of bucket list places that I would like. I would like to see Jones Beach. I've been to other shows at Jones Beach, but I'd love to see Dave at Jones Beach. SPAC, I would love to see see Dave at SPAC, but yeah, I'm
There's
kind of
those
open.
venues, kind of like the Gorge, that people
Yes.
say, if you're a Dave follower, this is where you need to see them. Obviously, the Gorge is probably the one that people say the most. But then past that, like you said, SPAC is a big one. It's in New York. It's beautiful. Alpine is in Wisconsin. That's another, I've heard a lot of people say, like, mini Mecca. It is
Yes.
beautiful. It is like at a ski resort, but of course it's summer, so it's very beautiful. Deer Creek is one that is in Indiana. It is always a 2-night concert, and so that is such a fun venue because if you don't live in the Midwest, this is very Midwest. It is cornfields, and then a venue. And so it is like, what are you doing? But it's always beautiful. It's always magical. And so traveling for Dave is so much fun. I say often, and I'll continue to say it probably every episode, that Dave is my travel agent. He comes out with his schedule, and then I'm like, okay, that's where we're going this summer. And he's never failed us. Like, I've been all over the United States, and it's just been good every time. Now, obviously, I think a lot of that is attributed to the music and the fans that are in town when that's happening, because obviously those two things together are what I'm after. But almost more now, it's you get out and you meet all these people, like you've said, and it's a bit of what we would call like a homecoming, to get to see these people in person and not just on Facebook, right? But to really make those real connections with people. And that I think that kind of helps in even making the relationship that much stronger, is like, okay, we've made that actual human contact now. Now I know now I know everything. And so, it's so much fun. Hey, speaking of fun, would you mind doing a little bit of Dave Matthews Band trivia with me?
Sure. Okay.
I mean, why not? So that's something that I've started to do for season 5. And for those that are listening, the reason why I have decided to do this was because in 2000, during COVID, as a lot of us, or all of us were kind of stuck at home, we were looking for ways to connect with people, but also our community of Dave fans, ways to connect with them. And so one of the ways that I did that was by starting what I called the Dave Matthews Band Trivia. I love trivia. I participate in different kinds of trivias as often as I can. I think it's really fun, and it's a place to use that useless knowledge, that stuff that we all have in our head that is like, well, I'll never need to use that, but it's always the things we can remember, right? Like those random things that we can remember. And so the Dave Matthews Band Trivia was born, and ultimately that is what led me into this podcast. And so it's just a new little segment that I think will be a lot of fun for everyone. So I have questions that are all across as far as being easy, not so harder questions. And so we'll start out light, and then based on your comfortability, we'll move into some different things. Let's see.
I'm terrible at trivia, but we'll give it a go.
Oh no, I'm gonna guarantee that you're gonna do good. We'll do some what I call easier questions. But again, if you're listening to this, every fan has different knowledge. So I use the word easy, but I don't want to say that, because what's easy to me is not easy to you. And, I have spent way too much time digging into this band's history. Obviously, not everyone has done that. So I know too much. That's where I'm at. But not enough is what I don't know enough, though. Okay, so there was a guy named Butch Taylor that was part of the Dave Matthews Band on stage many times. Do you know what he was on stage doing?
Was he the keyboard?
He was.
Yes.
You got it. See, perfect. So yeah, Butch Taylor was part of the Dave Matthews Band for many years, and he is no longer in the band, but he is still a big part of the music world. If you'll listen back a couple of episodes, I had a couple of guys, Terrence and Sean, they told their Dave journey, but also they recorded a record with Butch Taylor. And so Butch is very much in the music industry still, really helping out new and upcoming artists. And so it's really cool to see kind of where that took him. Okay, so let's see. It's okay to say you don't know this, but I'm going to go into a little bit where I'm going to give you some song lyrics and you're going to try to name the song. Now, this is so hard. Someone actually did this to me not too long ago, and I was like, man, I can sing it, I can go with it, but naming the name of that song right now is tripping me up because, again, like we didn't know these questions were coming, right? So we not always can I access that information that is dead in my head. So, okay,
And some
I'm
of
going
the
to give you...
the words aren't part of the name of the song.
Exactly.
It's like a random
Exactly.
name. So, okay, I'll give it a go.
It's very hard. But we'll start out light. Okay, so here are the lyrics for this song. You tell me what song you think it is. I will go in this way and find my own way out.
Oh my gosh, I know that
I'm
song.
going to read it one more time for those of you that are listening and maybe trying to put it together. I will go... My husband is in the kitchen mixing up some mashed potatoes, and I can hear the blender going, brrr, and I'm like, okay. It's real life, y'all. We're making some mashed potatoes. Okay. I will go in this way and find my own way out. And I'm purposely not singing it. If I were singing it in the tone or the tune or whatever, you would be like, I know exactly what that is. Does it sound familiar?
Oh, no, I totally know the song. I don't know the name of it, though. I'm terrible with the name of songs. Is it a number?
It is a number.
Is it number 41?
It is. You got it. It's number 41.
I'm so bad with the names of songs.
No, you're doing great. You're 2 for 2. So pat yourself on the shoulder. You're doing great. Okay, so let's go into question 3. Let's see. There's so much information about a band that's been, around for 30 years. So we have so much. Okay, let's see. This is just part of the history, so don't pick me apart. This is part of, if you were to Google the Dave Matthews Band, I can guarantee that this is going to be one of the very first things that pops up. So here we go. On August 25th of 2004, the Dave Matthews Band was sued in what state for dumping over 800 pounds of human waste into the river?
I'm sad I even know this. It was in Illinois. It's in Chicago.
Yes. Chicago, Illinois. Yeah. That's just unfortunately one of those awful things that happen. Obviously, it wasn't something they planned and did, but as things go, if something happens, people write it as they want, and of course it was a lot of negative press for the Dave Matthews Band, so that is one of those things that will just always be part of their history, unfortunately. But you got it right. You got it right. Okay, let's do one more and then we're gonna jump back. I love this question because I don't know the answer to it, so I don't expect you to but you might. And the listeners may know it too. Okay, so we're all familiar with the fact that Dave and Tim often separate from the full band to do like their own little shows, Dave and Tim shows. They've been doing it for years and years, most recently in Cancun, Mexico, which they've kind of started doing yearly in February, which is just the perfect time to get away from the winter. But in 1996, Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds teamed up to record together. It was released as a 2 CD live set, and it was in a place called Luther College. This album is one of those albums that, for new fans, they'll say, listen to this. I've met so many people that this is just their favorite album because of the sound that it gives. Do you know where Luther College is? I did not know. I only know because of the internet. It is not what I have assumed. I probably, if I would have just just guessed, my guess would have been somewhere on the East Coast. That would have just been my guess. It's in Iowa. What? Yes.
What's the connection there, I wonder?
I do not know. There's a whole bit of information we don't have. And so if you're listening to this and you know why in the world they went to Luther College in Iowa, maybe it was just like a college tour. You know, maybe these people at Luther College just had one of those old-timey places where the sound was wonderful and they were just like, yeah, we're going to record here. I don't know. But if you know the story, definitely call the Space Between. I'd love to hear. I'm going to give you the phone number to call me. It's 479-259-1630. And that, just in case you're listening to that and you're like, voicemail, I don't want to call up this strange girl. You're not even going to get to me. Like, I don't even answer this. It goes straight through Google and you leave the message. And so you don't have to be scared to call this voicemail. I'm not going to answer. But I would love to know if you know why in the world they went to Iowa. I think Marci and I both want to know. Is that right? Yeah, I want to know.
I totally want to know. What was the draw?
I mean,
How did Iowa get so lucky?
I don't know. And I don't even know that they knew that they were lucky at the time, right? Because God, that was so long ago. What did I say? 1996? What did I say? I don't even remember. That was just such at the beginning, you know, and so they were such a new band and I don't think, no one could have known. I don't think the band could have possibly known that after 30 years they would still be doing this. I don't think that's in any person's career something that they can imagine doing the same job for 30 years. But, you know, what a great job they've done. They've done such a great job. And I hope that we have many years ahead of us. But until then, you know, and even after then, I'm just going to continue to collect stories. So again, if you're interested in being on this podcast to share your journey, I'd love to hear from you. So you can call that voicemail as well, or also you can contact me on any of the social medias. Of course, we're on Facebook under a group, which is just simply the Space Between Podcast. On Instagram, it is the Space Between _POD. And then TikTok is our newest location, which is just under the Space Between Podcast. So you can hit me up on any of those socials and just say, hey, I'd like to know more about sharing my journey. It's very easy. It's just two friends talking about Dave, which is easy to do, I think, right? But then, of course, you know, I do things like ask you trivia questions. But, you know, I think if Marci would have said no, and obviously I asked her about it before we started recording, but if she'd have said no, I would not have done it. So if that's, you know, one of those things that scares you, don't let it. I mean, this is your story. You get to control what is said. And so I'd love to hear from you if you have a fun journey with the band. Marci, I cannot thank you enough. I mean, it's funny. You never know where you're going to meet the next Dave fan. And for us, you know, it was in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. That's one of those walks through town that I'll never forget because it was with a group of strangers. Like you said, like it's a group of strangers, but then also, you know, we talked and we had like that common thing. So we already had something to talk about, right? And so it was just comfortable. And man, the weather was so windy that day. Do you remember the wind?
Yes. Oh, the wind. It was so
wild.
It was crazy.
I had to wear a hat that night because I was like, dude, there's no way. Like the hair is, it was
over.
so,
Oh my gosh.
so strong. And so,
Yeah,
you know, when I think about you, of course, I'm always going to think about Vegas, but I do hope that we get to connect, you know, at a show I never know where I'm going to be when it comes to the Dave Matthews Band. You know, It's kind of like you said, I have these tickets, but also I'm very open to being open about more later, right?
Right? Yeah. And I just am staying open and flexible this summer, and hopefully our paths will cross. I don't know if you remember this, Renae, or not, but in Vegas, you had on a Space Between sweatshirt, or I think a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I love that podcast. And I was talking.
Yes, I remember.
A lot while we were walking. And then I didn't realize you are the Space Between. Like, I did not put that together at all until later. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
I did not know. I did not know at the moment that you were telling me. I remember you saying that, and I was just like, oh, thank you. And then I think we kind of moved on to whatever else. I don't know. But like, no, I never knew that you didn't know that I was the host of the show too. But yeah, surprise. And now you're on the show.
I love it.
So
much.
thank
It's
you.
so fun.
Thank you so much for helping me
Thank you.
to continue to tell the fan story. It's such a beautiful story, and everyone's is different. So I appreciate you taking time out to do this with me today.
Great. Thanks so much, Renae.
Awesome, guys. So again, we put out, or I put out, what? When will I ever stop saying we? I don't know. I put out a show every single week, if not more often. I would imagine as we move into tour season, I'm going to have a little bit more to say, but also the space between podcast, me and my husband, I guess now is, that's the we. Me and Justin Lipsmeyer are going to be in Florida and Texas. And guess what? We are co-hosting parties at every single one of those. We're going to be at Tampa, West Palm Beach, Houston, and Dallas. And so we will be throwing pre-show parties or co-hosting pre-show parties at all of those venues. So be sure that's another reason to stay connected on social media, as you can see where those night zeros and day ofs parties. I'd love to have you come meet us. Tell me about your journey. My job is literally to connect with you guys, so please come find us at any of those cities. And in the meantime, stay tuned. Every week we have a new episode with our new friend that tells us their journey with the Dave Matthews Band. But until then, guys, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. Thank you so much, Marci.
Thank you so much.